Imagine standing before a towering castle, strong, shining, seemingly unbreakable. But if one cornerstone is missing, the whole structure is at risk. That's exactly how your body works. Nutrients like vitamin D3, K2, and magnesium are those cornerstones. And when one is ignored, cracks form where you least expect them. Too much D3 without K2 or magnesium can turn calcium from a builder of bone into a saboteur of arteries. Magnesium deficiency can leave vitamin D half-finished, like a key that won't turn. I've seen it happen. Someone takes D3 for energy and ends up with kidney stones, or takes calcium and D3 for bone health, but develops stiff, calcified arteries. Your body is not a machine of separate parts, it's an orchestra, and if one instrument drowns out the rest, harmony turns into chaos. That's why today is about more than supplements. It's about balance, wisdom, and building your health like a castle, stone by stone, choice by choice, strong, radiant, and designed to last. Imagine this with me for a moment. You walk into a construction site where workers are building a house. There are bricks piled high, ready to be placed. The foundation is solid, the workers are strong and determined. But there's one problem: no one is directing where the bricks go. Some get stacked neatly into walls, others end up scattered across the yard, and some, believe it or not, get dumped in the driveway where they block the path. Now think of calcium in your body as those bricks. Vitamin D3 is like the worker that brings in more bricks. It helps your gut absorb calcium and delivers it into your bloodstream. But here's the shocking truth. If there is no one to direct those bricks, they may not end up in your bones where you need them most. Instead, they might be laid down in the wrong places: your arteries, your kidneys, even soft tissues where they become dangerous. This is why D3 alone is never the full story. The director in this process is vitamin K2. It's the one giving the orders to proteins like osteochulsin and matrix GLA protein. When activated, these proteins act like skilled masons. They take calcium and carefully place it into your bones and teeth, while simultaneously blocking it from entering your arteries. But if K2 is missing, those masons stay asleep. They don't show up to the job. And that's when calcium, meant to strengthen you, instead hardens the very vessels that deliver life-giving blood. You can see how the picture changes. Suddenly supplementing D3 without K2 doesn't just become incomplete, it can become risky. It's like pouring more and more bricks onto the construction site with no supervision. Eventually, you end up with a mess. And then there's magnesium. Magnesium doesn't often get the spotlight, but it is no less vital. Think of it as the electricity that powers the entire site. Without power, machines grind to a halt, tools fail, and progress stalls. Biochemically, magnesium is the cofactor, an essential key for enzymes that convert vitamin D into its active forms. Without magnesium, vitamin D is like a locked treasure chest, present, but not useful. Magnesium also helps stabilize electrical activity in the body, prevents muscles from cramping, calms overexcited nerve signals, and keeps calcium from flooding into cells unchecked. Without it, the system misfires. And here's the fascinating part. Large population studies have shown that people with higher magnesium intake are less likely to be deficient in vitamin D. It's as if magnesium holds open the door for D to work properly. This balance, D3, K2, magnesium, forms what I call a health equation. When all three are present, calcium is absorbed, activated, and directed exactly where it should go. Bones become stronger. Arteries stay flexible, muscles function smoothly, and the entire system thrives. But when one piece is missing, the equation collapses. Too much vitamin D without magnesium, and the body cannot use it. Too much vitamin D without K2, and calcium travels to the wrong places. Too much K2 without enough calcium, or D, and the masons have nothing to build with. Health is never about one hero nutrient, it is about harmony. Let's ground this in a real example. Imagine someone who hears that vitamin D boosts immunity, so they start taking 10,000 units a day, their blood levels rise. Calcium absorption goes up, but no one told them about K2. Months later, they develop kidney stones, or their arteries show signs of calcification. They're shocked. How could something so healthy create harm? The answer lies in imbalance. On the other hand, consider someone who takes a balanced approach, moderate D3, adequate K2 from foods like natto or aged cheese, and magnesium from leafy greens or supplements. Over time, their bones strengthen, blood pressure stabilizes, energy rises, and risks of calcification fall. Same nutrients, different story, because balance was respected. This is the truth we often forget. Your body is not a single pathway, it is an orchestra. Vitamin D3 is a powerful instrument, but without K2 and magnesium, the melody goes off-key. And health is not just about loud notes, it's about music. So when you think of supplements, don't think in isolation, think in symphony, balance them, respect them, and let them work together. Because in the end, it is not about taking more, it's about taking wisely. And if you remember only one thing today, let it be this: the nutrients that save you in balance can harm you in isolation. Balance isn't optional, balance is the key that turns supplements into healing rather than harm. When it comes to nutrition, one of the greatest challenges we face is not just ignorance, but partial truths that become distorted into myths. And nowhere is this more evident than in the conversation around vitamin D3, vitamin K2, and magnesium. I want to unpack some of these myths with you, not simply to correct the record, but because the consequences of misunderstanding them are very real for your bones, your arteries, and your long-term health. The first myth is one I see almost everywhere: the idea that more vitamin D is always better. People often tell me proudly, "Doctor, I'm taking 10,000, 20,000 units every day because if some is good, more must be even better." And yet, the human body doesn't work like that. Vitamin D is powerful, but too much of it can raise calcium levels in the blood to dangerous degrees. I've seen clinical reports of individuals ending up in the hospital with kidney failure, nausea, confusion, and cardiac rhythm problems after massive overdoses of vitamin D. What started as an attempt to protect health became a threat to it. Even large randomized trials have shown that giving a very high annual dose of vitamin D can paradoxically increase falls and fractures in some older adults. Imagine that, the very nutrient you thought would make bones stronger, in excess, making them more fragile. Another myth is that vitamin K2 is just about blood clotting, and that vitamin D is the real star. But let's step back for a moment and imagine the body as a construction site. Calcium is the building material, vitamin D helps deliver more of that material to the site, but without a skilled foreman, the material may be dumped in all the wrong places. That's what happens without K2. Vitamin K2 activates proteins that guide calcium into bones and teeth where it belongs, while keeping it away from arteries and kidneys where it can do damage. Long-term studies show that people low in K2 are at higher risk of vascular calcification, hardened arteries that raise the risk of heart disease. So yes, vitamin D is important, but without K2, you're missing the crucial traffic director that ensures calcium goes where it should. Then there's magnesium. Too often it gets dismissed as a minor trace element, an afterthought. But magnesium is like the quiet backstage crew in a theater. The actors may get the spotlight, vitamin D and calcium, but without the crew managing the lights, sound, and timing, the play would collapse. Magnesium is needed for over 300 enzymatic reactions, including those that activate vitamin D itself. It also helps control how calcium moves in and out of cells, preventing overload that could damage tissues. Studies show that people who get enough magnesium tend to have better vitamin D status naturally, and when they take supplements, the benefits are greater. So if you're ignoring magnesium, you're undercutting the entire system. Finally, the myth that supplements are the whole solution. This one is tempting because it's simple: just buy a bottle of D3, K2, and magnesium, and you're done. But health is never that simple. Supplements are tools, not substitutes for the foundations: sunlight, diet, gut health, liver and kidney function, all of these matter. You can take all the capsules in the world, but if your body isn't processing them well, or if you're lacking the natural rhythms of sunlight and nutrient-rich foods, you won't achieve real balance. Over-reliance on pills without supervision can even backfire, leading to unexpected imbalances. So what is the truth? It's nuanced. These nutrients are powerful allies when used together, in balance, and at the right levels. But each has limits, each depends on the others, and each must be supported by the broader context of lifestyle and individualized care. The real danger comes when we grab onto a single nutrient as a magic bullet, blind to the orchestra it belongs to. If I can leave you with one thought, it's this: health is about harmony, not excess. Just as a symphony needs violins, cellos, brass and percussion to play in tune, your body needs vitamin D, K2, magnesium, and the rest of your lifestyle in balance. Too much of one instrument, and the music becomes noise. When they work together, it's life-giving. And maybe that's the deeper lesson: more isn't always better. Better is better. When we talk about vitamins and minerals, it's tempting to assume that if a little is good, more must be better. But biology rarely works that way. The same fire that warms your home can also burn it down if left unchecked. The truth about vitamin D3, K2, and magnesium is that while each can be profoundly beneficial taken recklessly or without guidance, they can also become sources of harm. That's the shocking side. Many people don't hear until it's too late. Let's start with vitamin D. Because it's fat-soluble, your body doesn't just flush the excess out like it does with water-soluble vitamins. Instead, it stores it. Over time, that storage can lead to toxic buildup, a condition called hypervitaminosis D. And the danger here isn't abstract, it's very real. Too much vitamin D means too much calcium in your bloodstream. What we call hypercalcemia. Imagine calcium, a mineral designed to strengthen your bones, suddenly flooding your blood vessels. That excess calcium doesn't sit quietly. It creates problems. People with vitamin D toxicity often report nausea, vomiting, confusion, weakness. But it can go further: kidney stones, kidney failure, even dangerous heart rhythms. There are published medical case reports of individuals hospitalized after months of taking extremely high doses of vitamin D. And in one trial, when older women were given a massive yearly dose of vitamin D, their fracture and fall rates actually went up. That's the paradox: what should have helped ended up harming because the balance was ignored. So, while deficiency is common and supplementation often makes sense, the idea that if a little is good, a lot must be great is one of the most dangerous myths in nutrition. Now, what about vitamin K2? On the surface, it seems almost harmless. In fact, many studies suggest it's safe even at high levels, but there are exceptions we need to respect. If someone is on blood-thinning medications like warfarin, vitamin K can interfere and blunt the drug's effect. This is not a small issue. It can tip the scales between preventing a clot and causing one. And in very rare cases, in people predisposed to clotting disorders, excessive vitamin K2 could potentially shift the clotting balance in ways we don't fully understand. While the risks are far lower than with vitamin D, ignoring these caveats is still unwise. Then we turn to magnesium. From food, it's almost never a problem, but with supplements, especially in people with kidney problems, it can cause trouble. Too much magnesium in the bloodstream, or hypermagnesium, can lead to nausea, dangerously low blood pressure, muscle weakness, and in severe cases, even respiratory failure. Some forms of supplemental magnesium, like magnesium citrate or oxide, can trigger diarrhea, which may seem trivial, but chronic digestive upset can lead to dehydration, electrolyte imbalances, and new health issues layered on top of old ones. And when magnesium is supplemented in very high doses, without balancing calcium and potassium, it can create a tug-of-war between electrolytes that destabilizes the system, rather than stabilizing it. But perhaps the most concerning risks are the unintended consequences of imbalance. High-dose vitamin D3, without enough K2 to guide calcium, can accelerate vascular calcification, hardening the arteries, increasing risks of cardiovascular disease. Excessive calcium absorption without proper oversight can contribute to kidney stones, or worse, calcium deposits in soft tissues like the heart valves. And in people with conditions like sarcoidosis or hyperparathyroidism, where vitamin D metabolism is already abnormal, unmonitored supplementation can worsen disease. These aren't scare tactics, they're lessons written in medical charts, hospital admissions, and published research. And they remind us of a simple truth: supplements are not candy, they are powerful tools, and like any tool, they require respect. A hammer can build a home, but swing it carelessly, and it can destroy just as easily. That's why the principle I want you to take away is this: more is not always better, smarter is better. Testing matters, balance matters. Individual differences matter, one person's ideal dose might be another person's tipping point. When used wisely, vitamin D3, K2, and magnesium can work together to strengthen bones, protect arteries, and optimize health. But when used recklessly, they can backfire in ways that no one expects until it's too late. As I often tell my patients, the difference between medicine and poison is the dose. So respect these nutrients, learn their synergy, but also honor their boundaries. Because in health, as in life, balance is not just a luxury, it's survival. The question many people ask is, if vitamin D3, K2, and magnesium are so important, how do I use them safely? How do I capture their benefits without falling into the traps of imbalance or toxicity? The answer lies in moving away from a one-size-fits-all approach and embracing a thoughtful step-by-step strategy that respects the individuality of your body. The first step is awareness through testing. It's very hard to optimize what you don't measure. A blood test for 25-hydroxyvitamin D will tell you where you stand with vitamin D. Advanced labs, in some places, can even look at uncarboxylated osteocolsin or matrix GLA protein, giving clues about vitamin K status. Magnesium is trickier because most of it lives inside cells, not in the bloodstream, but serum magnesium, ionized magnesium, or even red blood cell magnesium can give useful clues. And don't stop there. Check calcium, phosphorus, parathyroid hormone, creatinine. Look at kidney and liver function, because those organs are the engines that metabolize and clear these nutrients. Think of it like drawing a map before starting a journey. You need to know your starting point. The second step is to define safe targets. For vitamin D, the science suggests that being below 20 to 30 nanograms per milliliter is often insufficient, while 30 to 50 nanograms per milliliter tends to be a healthy range for most. Once you climb above 50 or 60, you're in a territory where risks can increase if supplementation is aggressive. For vitamin K2, clinical studies often use doses from 90 to 360 micrograms of Mk7. Higher doses exist, but we don't yet have long-term safety data. Magnesium requirements usually hover around 300 to 400 milligrams a day depending on sex, kidney function, and diet. The principle here is simple: aim for balance, not extremes. Third, if you need supplementation, use strategy rather than brute force. If your vitamin D is low, start with a moderate daily dose that nudges it upward steadily, not a massive shock dose. Pair it with magnesium, because magnesium is what unlocks vitamin D's potential. And bring in K2, either Mk7 or Mk4, so the calcium you're absorbing actually gets directed into bone and not arteries. Choose forms of magnesium your body can tolerate, such as glycinate or malate, instead of pounding your gut with magnesium oxide that leaves you running to the bathroom. And resist the temptation for megadosing. Once-a-year injections or enormous single-day doses of D3 have repeatedly shown unintended harms. Gentle, steady support is far safer. The fourth step is feedback and adjustment. After 8 to 12 weeks, check your labs again. Watch for signals: fatigue, muscle cramps, bone pain, nausea, confusion. If calcium levels are rising or kidney markers are drifting, it may be time to adjust. If you're on blood thinners, make sure changes in K2 intake are coordinated with your doctor, because small shifts can have big consequences. The body is dynamic. Think of this like tuning a musical instrument. You don't just tighten the strings once and walk away, you keep listening and adjusting until the harmony is right. And the fifth step, often forgotten, is lifestyle and diet. Supplements are not a replacement for nature. They are a complement. Get magnesium from leafy greens, nuts, seeds, legumes, and whole grains. Add fermented foods or cheeses that naturally provide K2. Get outside safely for sun exposure. Your skin is still the most elegant vitamin D factory ever designed. Protect your digestive system, because absorption matters as much as intake. Support your kidneys because they clear the excess. Move your body because circulation determines how nutrients are delivered. And avoid reflexively swallowing calcium tablets unless you truly need them. Your body absorbs minerals more gracefully from food. When you bring these steps together, you create a roadmap that is safe, personalized, and powerful. Instead of chasing internet trends or quick fixes, you're listening to your body, checking the data, making careful adjustments, and supporting the natural systems that keep you alive. Supplements can be wonderful allies, but they must be respected. The goal isn't to take the highest dose or to follow what your neighbor does, but to harmonize these nutrients in a way that fits your physiology. When you get it right, bones grow stronger, arteries stay clearer, energy improves, and your health is supported in ways that are both subtle and profound. As I often remind people, optimization isn't about doing more, it's about doing what is right for you. When we talk about health today, the conversation often circles back to supplements. People ask, how much vitamin D should I take? Or should I add magnesium? Or what about K2? Do I need that too? And while these are valid questions, I want to pause and remind you of something far greater. True health is not found in a pill bottle. Supplements are not superheroes. They are not shortcuts. They are tools, pieces of a much larger puzzle. If you think of your body as a house, supplements are support beams, not the foundation itself. You cannot build a sturdy house by tossing beams into a pile. You need structure, balance, and wisdom. Let me give you an example. Imagine someone who takes a high dose of vitamin D every day, but eats fast food, hardly sleeps, and is constantly stressed. That vitamin D will not erase the inflammation in their gut, the strain on their heart, or the hormonal chaos caused by poor lifestyle choices. In fact, without adequate magnesium and K2, that vitamin D could actually cause harm, pulling calcium into places it doesn't belong. The arteries instead of the bones, the kidneys instead of the skeleton. The shocking truth is not simply that these nutrients work together, but that they cannot be separated from the greater context of human health. This is where humility comes in. We often want black and white answers, but biology rarely works that way. What benefits one person can hurt another. Someone with kidney disease may not process magnesium the same way. Someone on blood thinners must approach K2 differently. Someone with a genetic variation may need higher or lower vitamin D to maintain balance. And that's why listening to your body and testing your levels is so important. Health is not about copying what worked for your neighbor or what you saw online. It is about understanding your own physiology and working with it, not against it. And here's another truth. Science itself evolves. What we believe with certainty today may be revised tomorrow. Decades ago, fat was demonized, and now we understand that certain fats are essential for life. The same humility must be applied to supplements. If you start to believe that vitamin D alone is the cure for all, or that magnesium is the missing link for every condition, you've lost the perspective that true health requires. It requires balance, vigilance, and the willingness to adapt as new knowledge emerges. So how do we apply this wisdom in practice? We start with the basics: whole foods rich in minerals, leafy greens that provide magnesium, fermented foods that offer natural K2, and sunlight in safe amounts for vitamin D. We drink clean water, prioritize quality sleep, move our bodies, manage stress, and protect the health of our gut. Only then do supplements step in, not as replacements, but as supports where needed. And when they are used, they should be used thoughtfully, modestly, and guided by testing. I encourage you not only to apply this to yourself, but to share it responsibly. When you talk to others about health, don't just promote the benefits, also share the cautions, the importance of context, and the reminder that more is not always better. This transparency is part of building a healthier community. The truth we need to spread is not that D3, K2, and magnesium are magic pills, but that they are vital players in a symphony that must be conducted with care. Let me close with an image that stays with me. Picture your health as a castle. You are laying the stones brick by brick, day after day, with every meal, every night of rest, every breath of fresh air. If you build your tower of vitamin D too high, while leaving the pillar of magnesium weak, or if you forget the guiding beams of K2, cracks will form in the walls. At first they are silent, almost invisible, but in time the whole structure trembles. When balance is restored, however, the castle stands firm, weathering storms, resisting decay, and shining as a beacon of resilience. So my message to you today is simple but profound. Supplements are not the foundation of health, wisdom. Respect the interplay of these nutrients, honor the larger picture of your body, and carry forward the knowledge that balance is not passive, it is an active dynamic art. May your pursuit of health be guided not by fear or fads, but by understanding, humility, and the courage to listen to your own body. And may the knowledge you've gained here empower you to not just survive, but to thrive, and to help others do the same. Thank you for walking this path of truth with me. If this has sparked something in you, share it, reflect on it, and let us continue building a community of health, grounded, not in hype, but in wisdom, because your body deserves nothing less. Let me remind you of that castle I spoke of at the beginning. When you build your body's foundation, brick by brick, nutrient by nutrient, do not erect a grand tower of vitamin D while leaving magnesium's pillar weak, or neglecting the vital guideposts of K2. Because when one pillar falters, cracks spread quietly, often unseen, until the structure trembles. Today I have revealed to you the hidden synergy of D3, K2, and magnesium, the myths that mislead, the mechanisms that unite, the hazards that lurk in imbalance, and the path to optimize wisely. I urge you, go test, go learn your numbers, go adjust with care, use supplements as humble partners, not blind faith. If you take nothing else away, remember this: balance is not passive, it is a dynamic art. May your health become not just stronger, but wiser, more resilient, more attuned, and may the light of knowledge you shine lead others out of the darkness of misinformation. Thank you for listening. If you found this valuable, share it, comment, and let us continue the conversation, because your body deserves nothing less than respect, integrity, and empowered truth.